Well, in any job, if somebody goes, what he or she gets to do is decided by the hierarchy above you, by the organization. The organization defines the role for you and the deliverables for you. So, to that extent, what you can do possibly in your tenure, in your lifetime in the organization, gets decided by somebody else. Okay. So, your role, your deliverables, your performance criteria, what kind of learning you would have, what kind of growth you would have, all that is decided by somebody else. And that goes with earning also. What kind of earning you would have is also decided by the organization where you join. Right? So, in any job, what you will earn, what you will do throughout your life is decided by somebody else. It is not in your hand. You can only fidget and do something and try to move towards what you would like to do. But it's sheer luck if you are able to get it. May or may not be able to make it. Right? Whereas if you have your own business, you are on your own master. You decide what you will do and what others with you will do. You can decide on the DNA of the organization that you are creating. What the organization will do, how it will work, what business it will do, what core competencies would be developed, acquired, groomed, etc. Everything is decided by yourself and you are in the control of everything. So basically, you get the pleasure of being on the steering wheel. Okay, you are driving the organization like a leader, and leader's job, according to me, is like a driver's job. It's like driving a vehicle. So the driver can take the vehicle wherever he wants. Like that, if you are the business owner, you can take the business wherever you want. Now that itself gives a very big kick to somebody who is passionate, to somebody who wants to achieve things, to somebody who has very high aspirations, ambitions. Okay, so it meets all these requirements. Okay, so these are one factors. These are some factors which attract. Of course, it is very clear that one has to work very hard. But generally, the people who are ambitious and driven by passion, they don't mind working hard. In fact, they hate doing nothing. So, working hard is something which suits their nature. So, somebody who can take risks, somebody who can take calculated risks, somebody who can invest, somebody who has a vision to grow in certain direction, who has vision to earn in certain way. Yes, starting own business is the best way to realize all this. Plus, the kind of superlative growth you see in business is not comparable to any other career path. You can take a government job, you can take a public sector job, you can join a private company, you can go abroad. Whatever you do, okay, that kind of growth is never achievable. There are cases, I mean, I'm just giving some, just to give some figures, that somebody starts, let us say, a company in certain year. The first year, the turnover is close to 1 CR. After 3 years, the turnover touches something like 5 CR. After 5 years, it could become 15 CR. After 10 years, it could cross 100 CR. Now, this kind of dynamic growth, your money can never grow so much, whatever FD you may do or whatever investment you do in share market. You cannot expect to earn so much as you expect to earn from a business which really does well. Okay. So this kind of superlative growth is not comparable with any other career option. Okay. Now this is the biggest motivating factor. So a keen desire to achieve in life, a clear vision of what one wants to do, and quest for superlative growth. These are the main drivers which pull people and which entice people and into the entrepreneurship. And consequently, of course, you see so many startups mushrooming all over the place. Of course, it's being promoted by government as well. So many people are moving from services to own business. It gives you a sense of ownership, it gives a sense of pride, accomplishment, everything in one.
What should the government do, or what do they already do for startups?
Well, government has made the intent very clear that they want to promote startup. But of course, the reasons behind this policy could be little different. See, earlier time, government had to employ so many people, provide employment. The focus was on providing employment and providing livelihood for lifetime for the urban middle class kind of people. So that used to be the focus earlier. Now the jobs are dwindling everywhere, whether it is in factories or in government organization. Thanks to computerization, thanks to IT boom, the jobs like clerks, stenos, accountants have all gone. So the number of jobs and number of people, I mean, any kind of automation and productivity improvement takes toll of number of jobs. Now it is realized that okay, there is no need and there is no affordability of being able to support this kind of lifetime of earning guarantee for so many people. So telling people to be on their own, telling people to become entrepreneur is a policy, and it is not wrong, it is right, I would say. Okay. People have to be on their own, they have to be responsible for their own growth, etc. It's fine. It's a noble idea. Now, but what has happened, the flip side is also there. That earlier, okay, you used to get a guarantee as a middle class member, a guarantee of livelihood for your life and pension beyond that, and all the medical facilities and whatever is required for decent living was getting covered. Now all that is thrown away, all that assurance is gone. The risk is all yours, the business is all yours. You have to, if you succeed, it's your gain. If you lose, it's your problem. So, in a way, yes, the government has kind of washed off its hand that, okay, you fend for yourself and do. Now, while there are a lot of startups coming as a push for startup, which is rightly so, okay, but the success rate for these startups are dismal. Only 3% or 5% of startups sustain beyond 3 years. So, which speaks volumes about lack of support, physical support, and real support for startups, which would make a difference. And what I mean by real support, see, somebody puts his forefathers' earning into business. Okay. The risk is all his because it is his business. But what is the assurance? Are the banks covering your business risk? They are not. Actually, yes, theoretically, the banks used to employ people like probationary officers at one time, whose job was to assess any loan proposition based on soundness, and you do some kind of assessment, risk assessment, and based on that, you approve some loan. But we are not seeing banks sharing any risk for the business. So they give loan only against security. Now, if somebody has money to give security, can as well use that money to do the business. In other words, it means that there is no support really. If you have money, you can do business. If you don't have, you don't have. Simple. And risk is all yours. And of course, if the business does well, you have to pay taxes, all right. Right? So the support part is something which is desirable. Now, it is understood that any kind of laxity on relaxing rules for these kind of loans, etc., is dicey because there are so many cases of bad debts and even big people running away with a lot of money, etc. So the rules have to be tight. Now, unfortunately, what we see is that the rules that we see are as tight as they can be and they are as relaxed as they can be. Both the extremes can be seen. So, when a startup goes for a loan, the rules appear to be very, very tight. But the biggies get several thousands of crores just like that. And then what happens is what happens. Okay. So there is some sincerity, some rationalization required, and some hard drive to support the startups particularly. Otherwise, the statistics looks as dismal as I said.
Is doing MBA useful in entrepreneurship?
It's certainly an advantage because with MBA you start remembering facts and figures, you start having idea of magnitudes, you start knowing how much money can do what, how much money is how much actually. Otherwise, I mean, it just how many zeros are there you can see, but then you don't really appreciate that what is difference between say 10,000 crore and 100,000 crore. Okay. Once you do MBA, you start getting idea of those magnitudes and what could be done in certain magnitude. Plus, of course, it is grooming for personality, communication skills, analytical skills. Certainly, yes, it does groom person for a business, and kind of it develops a business sense also, and some awareness about the rules, regulations, etc. Yes, they are useful. Beyond that, if you see the success rate, all the big businesses that have been there for ages, actually, none of those were started by MBAs. They were started by people who have grown from the ground. So, touch with reality, a touch with ground is also important. So, MBA coupled with that, yes, it can be a big asset.
How to ensure sustained success?
If you see business, there are types of businesses. Like there is one kind of business which is trading. Now, trading means buy from somewhere, sell somewhere. And the earning depends on the differential, price differential. Now, at one time, this was a very attractive, secure option if you know which is the market where you should buy and which is the market where you should sell and what is the cost of transportation, etc., and warehousing, etc., all that put together. So trading was a very, very attractive option at one time. But today, thanks to internet, the information that you have, anybody could get very easily, equally easily. So there is a competition. People can directly order where it is cheaper. I mean, with e-commerce. Okay. So trading no longer holds the kind of premium that it had once. Okay. People are buying through Amazon nowadays, through e-commerce. So they are not going to stockist shopkeeper who's having, I mean, a warehouse, etc. So the dynamics is changing a little bit in the market. So whether trading continues to be an option that will give you continued money for long is a little bit of question mark. So then what would do that? That is One has to consider what is the value add that you are doing in your business. So you don't just buy something and sell something and just earn out of the price differential. You buy some things, do a value add, build the value proposition by doing some addition in your organization. And then that increases the worth of the final output that you are selling to the market. So the organization's value add shall become the premium thing. And if one can guarantee that the value add from my organization is unique, it is depending on certain level of expertise, certain unique competencies that are there, certain unique equipment that are there in your factory. Certain unique competencies can guarantee you sustained long-term earning proposition for any business, provided you don't do things which are hogwash. Now, what are the things which are hogwash according to me? Now, there is a big slogan: zero budget, zero finance, zero, zero, zero accident, zero everything, which is all humbug. When you say zero finance, what do you mean? You mean that you are buying inputs from your supplier without paying them. So they are owning the cost until the point that you have the material, you are producing, you are selling, then when you get the money out of sale, you are paying them. So basically, your suppliers are sustaining your organizational risk for you until you sell the product. Now, do you think your supplier should accept it? They should not. For some time, out of compulsion, they may do it because they have no option. But the day they will get an option, they will ditch you. Now, if you want sustained survivability of your organization, avoid doing these things. Try to make sure that your supplier is sustainable, your customers are happy with the product, and your value add level is maintained. Otherwise, you go back to the trading model, import everything from China and do screwdriver technology and sell. That's not going to sustain, because whatever you would do, there will be 10 people who would do the same tomorrow. Okay. So what is your worth? Why your organization should succeed and others will not succeed? And once there is a competition, then you have to do undercutting, you have to water down your prices, you have to offer discounts. So all the earning comes down. So sustainable value add, certain level of innovation to continue being ahead of others, certain proactiveness, certain investment on developing premium skill set. Get premium people with premium competencies, get premium equipment with premium capabilities, premium performance. That is something that will fetch you. Unfortunately, in our industry, we see capex and training as a muda, as a loss. It's not a loss, it is investment. And in order to sustain the long-term survival of your organization, it's very necessary. Okay. And you have to brace the future, you have to be proactively ready for the future. Otherwise, there are levels of organization. And basically, most of the organizations in India, if you propose some new idea, innovation, they say who else is doing it. Now, this question itself kills the innovation. If somebody is doing it already, then it's not a new idea. So you want to hear success story and then you want to emulate that. Now, if that is the mindset, you can never be market leader. You can only be market follower. So whatever market wants, you will do that. That's called as, it's not a proactive thing. It's a reactive thing. You are reacting to the market requirement and doing it. Fine. Now, with that approach, you can't be market leader. Now, market leader is something like Maggie Noodle. Did Maggie Noodle do a market survey in India that do the customers want this kind of a product? I'm sure they never did. They just marketed aggressively the product and they cultivated the market for that product. So, market leader is somebody who leads the market the way he wants. That kind of drive, that kind of passion, that kind of substance has to be there in that organization to be able to pull through that. Yeah. So that is something which gives survivability. You cultivate the market. At one time when we used to go abroad in 90s, we used to wonder that Bisleri is being bought by people in Europe, in India who would pay for water. But today you see, thanks to marketing, nobody was asked obviously that will you buy water for 20 rupees. Okay. But then that has happened. So that's the mark of market leader. Market leader runs ahead of market, not behind the market. So a successful organization of the future will run ahead of the market. You anticipate the market requirement, you cultivate the market requirement, you grow the market requirement, and you addict the market. That's a wrong word, but okay. For that particular product, for that particular utility, one can. Like at one time, nobody thought that super luxury cars will sell in India because the perception was that we are a poor country, we don't have money. But you see the sales of all premium cars. Okay. So one has to look ahead in the market. You can't be retrograde and don't assume anything. You can experiment and have things your way.
What are the considerations for starting your own business?
Whenever some young boys come to me asking for my advice that we want to start a business, sir, how do we go about it? So I ask them just one question. And that one question is, what shall be your USP? Whatever you propose to do in the market, what do you think is your success factor? Why you will succeed while others will not succeed? Both the things are important. Okay. So some boys used to reply, sir, हम मेहनत करेगा, परिश्रम करेगा. भैया वो तो सब करेगा. Anybody who invests money in business has to do it. That's not a choice. That everybody will do. Parishram everybody will do. What is unique about your case? So they said, no, sir, I have a bannat idea in business. Right? Okay, you have a great idea in business. First of all, there are two cautions. That whatever ideas look very great, they often turn out to be fiasco in the market and vice versa. A very stupid looking idea can also become a hit. वैसा तो इंडिया में कुछ भी बिकता है. So, having a great idea does not guarantee a success necessarily. Other thing is, even if it is a genuinely great idea and even if it clicks, you have just a window of 6 months to earn. Because once people know about your great idea, there will be 10 people pursuing the same great idea. And then all your initial advantage will be over and there will be a lot of competition. Okay. So that's why I said you should have a success factor which will give you success but which will not give same success to others. So in other words, I am saying that you have to identify a bridge which you will cross and then you blast the bridge so that nobody can follow you. So is there such a strategic thinking on your part? Do you know some such business that you should do which others will not be able to follow and catch up with you? So somebody gave me a reply which was okay. The person said, no sir, वो मेरा चाचा उद्योग मंत्री है. Yes, that could be a success factor because everybody's chacha cannot be udyog mantri. But that success factor is a success factor, assuming that what you are saying is true, first of all. Secondly, that your chacha obliges you really. Thirdly, your chacha continues to be udyog mantri until the time your business is through. So many ifs and buts are there even with that. So it does not necessarily, though it looks on the face of it correct statement of unique success factor, but that success factor may or may not actually materialize. Okay. So, but that success factor has to be thought of, that success factor has to be clearly understood and preserved, and one has to work towards that to maximize its impact. So, that is how one plans in which business you should venture so that the chances of success are higher. Of course, there is always an element of luck. Luck is always there. But then, my observation in life is that if you are persistent and if you are doing the right thing and with full drive, passion, etc., sooner than later success comes. Your astrology cannot be so bad that you will not achieve anything throughout your life. You may not achieve for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Sometime you will achieve. Sometime it has to click. But you have to have perseverance to pursue it till that point. Now, what happens with most of the startup is they quit too soon. They start with half knowledge, then they realize that it's not getting anywhere, and they are in a hurry to quit also. Because probably they cannot sustain that trial phase. Okay. So, another consideration is launching your own business, you have to have sustainability. If you have wherewithal to sustain adverse business climate for 5 years, then you should venture. If you have, let us say, financial support from family or something, some sources, which can see you through for first 5 years, then you can take a plunge into business. Not otherwise. Now, if you see in India, the list of successful businesses, most of those businesses belong to certain specific communities. Of course, I would not like to name the communities, but everybody knows who are the communities who are successful generally in business. But not others. Now, what is that which makes those communities successful in business that others are not able to replicate? It's a community support for risk taking. It is the community support for doing business. So, any person, any young person from those communities, if he or she is starting a business, the entire community stands solidly behind that person, supporting his or her risk taking, financially and otherwise, and morally also. So, it is with that support that they are able to pass the value of death of 5 years. And once they have crossed that point, then they can do well. Right? So that is the way it works. Whereas in other communities, somebody is doing business, the community starts doubting from day one. The person will find it difficult to marry also because nobody will believe how much the person is able to earn or will be able to earn. Okay. So the community starts doubting rather than supporting. So if that is the scenario, then most probably the person will not be able to cross the valley of death. He or she may invest something initially and see that nothing is coming for 1 year, 2 year, and may pull back. That's what happens to most of the startups. Right? So, from which community the person is also determines largely the success factor. Okay. Of course, now the things are changing a little bit, and they should change, of course. With more knowledge coming, with more expertise-based things coming, it ought to change, obviously. But then it is slow. And even the communities where there was a lot of hegemony and support, there also some corruption is happening, and now the relations are not all that great that they used to be earlier, till 2 generations back. So things are changing. Of course, it is not a steady state. But then, yes, this is one factor which one has to bear in mind. For lower class and middle class, first question is important. That is, what is your USP? What is your success factor? Business can be small, business can be big. But what is your success factor? Let us say you want to do a small business. Okay. I give you an example for what you are asking. There was a chopati where a lot of chaat telas were there. Everybody is selling the same pani puri. Everybody's price is same. So, okay, the customers are getting distributed since it was a garden. A lot of people used to come and they used to get distributed across all the stalls that were there. Now, somebody met a person, a bright boy from MBA. He said, "Sir, my business is not doing great. Kindly advise me something so that my business starts picking up. I am getting 1/10 of the customer because there are 10 stalls." Now, the advice given to that person was, "What is your price written on your board for Pani Puri?" He says, 10 rupees. From tomorrow, you make it 20 rupees. Don't change anything, just change the price on the board and see what happens. So the same was done. And after a month, the fellow met again and he said, "Sir, my business has picked up a lot. Thanks for your advice." So what has changed? It's the market perception has changed that there is something unique. There must be something unique about his offering because his price is unique. So, what would click in the business is anybody's guess. But there has to be some uniqueness. If you try to follow the herd, then that is what happens. Divide by 10. If you do something unique, then probably you grab a much bigger pie. Right? So building uniqueness in your business is the main thing. Now, whether it is a lower class person aspiring for a business or a middle class boy, this factor remains the same. So you have to consider the source of finance, whether you can survive the death valley, whether you are covered up to there somehow. And then, of course, what should be your business so that it remains unique. It is the market perception about it is unique.
Challenges.
Challenges for startup are many, which makes it very daunting to venture into a business. First of all, there is a maze of rules and regulations which are positively obnoxious. They discourage and throw off people from doing business. Okay. There are so many regulations and without much rhyme or reason. And unknowingly, it is very easy to violate any rule. And then comes a big logic with a danda that not knowing rule is not an excuse for violating. So you are still punished. Okay. So there are so many rules which are not logical. There are so many of them, compliances. So there is a definite need to make things simpler for startups. Simpler and logical. Okay. Unless startup is doing something wrong, I mean, the rules should not come in the way. But then there are so many of them. which have evolved over the ages. Unfortunately, what has happened that in our country, the rules, regulations, and work systems have evolved according to the convenience of administrators. Based on their administrative convenience, they have devised certain rules and systems so that they are able to easily control. But the rules and regulations have to be business friendly. They have to be process friendly. They have to be end user friendly and customer friendly. Okay. So there is definitely a need to work on the rules and regulations to make them easy, simple, logical, not so many ifs and buts, no many clauses, sub clauses, not something which will require an expert chartered accountant to figure out as to how much tax is due on you. Okay. Of course, in GST, lot of simplification has happened in that respect, but of course there is a scope to improve further. Lot of other rules and regulations, like what are the Factories Act norms, and there are contrast. If in a factory, in an underground pit, one person is working, and that underground pit does not have two entry and exit, the factory inspector comes with a big danda and harasses everybody. But in tunnel excavation, there are hundreds of people working without any such control. So there has to be some rhyme or reason of what regulation, how it should be implemented, how much should be the cost of compliance. Basically, cost of compliance is what matters for business. You cannot be complying at any cost. Okay? Because in business, doing something at any cost is not a business. So the rules and regulations, the compliance has to come at commensurate cost to the purpose. Right? So to that extent, yes, there is lot of scope for simplification of rules and regulations to make them business friendly, to make them entrepreneur friendly, to make them startup friendly. Okay, that is one. And then, of course, there was a notorious Inspector Raj kind of a thing where anybody could come and harass you for violating some XYZ rule. Now, those things, those discretionary things have to go. Things have to be much more clear, logical, friendly. Okay. So, that is one kind of thing. The other challenge is, of course, the finance, because banks are not sharing your risk. So something has to be done to secure some finance, because in lieu of guaranteeing the livelihood for lifetime, now the government has to do something for startups, since startup is being promoted. So at least to some extent cover some risk, give some patronage, have some guaranteed market for startup, so that the survivability is ensured for at least a short time, for 3 years, 5 years, until the death valley is over. Okay. Some preferential things where startups only shall be considered, etc. Okay. So some kind of these things are, of course, it's a wish thinking that they do happen, so that the startups get promoted and they get motivated to jump into the bandwagon. The other things which happen are from the industry side, the customer side, particularly when you talk of B2B. When you talk of B2C, things are different. But for businesses that are B2B, a new company has to deal with and sell the wares to the older, much bigger companies necessarily. Now, those older, much bigger companies make contracts which are entirely one sided. So, the entire risk is given to the poor fellow who's startup, and the bigger organization wants to play safe. So, they will insist on free POCs. Okay, you are coming with new product, you give the free trial, and after the free trial they will buy from somebody else. Okay, in the negotiation they will haggle so much that they will eat away into all the earning proposition of the startup. So that's another difficulty. Contracts being one sided, startups getting bullied by the bigger players who are already there. Now, these are some of the challenges which require some kind of a support patronage for startups to succeed. Okay, but these are the challenges as it stands. These are the challenges.
What kind of businesses are likely to succeed in the future in India and globally?
See, for success factor, what is happening if you see the dynamics? Any new business starts, many people jump into it. You see the cost, the case of low cost airlines for that matter. People thought that there is a very big money in running a low cost airline, so there were so many brands jumping into low cost airline. After some years, most of them withdraw, and very few players remain in the market because probably others realize that it does not turn out to be as lucrative as it looked from outside. So that's what happens. The perception that which business is promising from outside, the view is different. Once you come inside, and the actual reality turns out to be something else. Okay. So going further, the businesses which are going to thrive in future are the ones who do disruptive innovation. Basically, you have to do something different from what others have been doing in terms of product, in terms of strategy, in terms of service, in terms of appeal, in terms of technology. It has to be something different from what has been happening all these years. Because what has been happening for donkey years. There are umpteen players in it. There is a lot of competition. So it is only matter of time when the lesser than fittest will die out. Okay. So you have to start something which is innovative, which is new. And what is innovative? The definition of innovation is you are putting idea from some other domain into your domain. Let us say you take an inspiration from biology and apply that in engineering. That is innovation. Right? For example, in biology, if I am just giving an example. In biology, all the hardware that is there, let us say consider bone. Bone is not just a structure. Bone also has intelligence. Bone also has a dynamics. Bone also stores nutrients. Bone also releases the hormones. So it's a multifunctional hardware. But in engineering, we don't find of multifunctional hardware. You look at a car, for example. I'm giving example of car because car everybody knows. In the car, battery is a battery is a battery. It is a dead weight, just to be mounted on some bracket, and it gives electrical power. And of course, it has to have a casing, a container, which is pretty heavy, by the way. Right? Now, the innovation would be if somebody can house the battery, which will serve as structure of the car. So it serves two purposes. It is structural element plus it is battery in the same. I'm sure given the volume of car, companies will be happy to package the battery the way the automotive OEMs will demand. That's an innovation. So some such new ideas have to come out and they have to be encashed, full swing, and you have to do it big time. And such uniqueness is going to be the success factor. Okay. Customization, yes. You can't afford to have, let us say, run of the mill kind of machines which you sell. Say, drilling machine, you make thousands and lakhs of drilling machine which are identical in just sort. Gone are those days. Because there will be umpteen players who will be doing that, printing the same kind of machines and just throwing in the market at low premium, at low price. So the future is customization. Can you make a drilling machine with a customized multi-spindle head? With a one movement of Z, it drills 10 holes at a time. That is SPM. Yes. So Something with uniqueness, something with customization, something with tailored fit, something which harnesses human creativity, human ingenuity, is going to click going further. Because whatever can be done by machines will be done by machines cheaply. Whatever cannot be done by machines cheaply should be done by human ingenuity. That is what is the promising factor for new businesses, where one can utilize human creativity. Now, human creativity, of course, creating entertainment is one. Can any AI ML make an entertaining film, make a story that will be liked by people? Huh? It can just take something from here, something from there, make a khichdi. But no, it doesn't have that kind of a creativity, sensitivity, and passion to do that thing. That is better done manually. So, the kind of things which will require human thinking, human creativity, human variability, if you please, yes, those are the businesses which are going to do great. Plus, of course, automation. There is a big automation. There is a data automation. Industry 4, Industry 5. Those are the kind of job. AI, ML are the kind of jobs which are going to succeed. Beyond that, of course, the jobs which are like FMCG is always going to be there. It will grow as much as the population grows, but then again, you see in FMCG, people are preferring handmade soaps. Why? Because human ingenuity, human skill, human touch is valued, and they are ready to pay premium for those rather than buying run of the mill things which are available so cheaply. So customers have become discerning. You can't assume that the market will buy whatever is cheapest. Market doesn't buy whatever is cheapest. If that were the case, Nano would have become a big hit. But it has not become because there's a perception, right? People are ready to buy Mercedes, but not Nano. So the future is try to identify what the market will want tomorrow. Don't see the past, don't see today. After 5 years, what the market should want, work on that. That is the business which will succeed.